Welcome to the first use case, Improving Processes by Algorithmic Process Discovery and Analytics. In this use case, we want to have a look at our purchase-to-pay process and see how we can improve the process behavior to have a better throughput time and to improve the process. First, we'll take a look at the high-level make-to-order process. In this diagram, we can see the process behavior and some assignments on it. So let's have a look at the KPIs. By enabling the process mining overlay, we can see immediately that the activity duration time is quite different. When looking at the purchase and procurement activity, we discover a very high throughput time. So let's take a look at the detailed sub-process behind it. We can see our KPIs such as number of purchase orders per day, average throughput time, and more, and all the deviations over time, all at the bottom of the page. The average throughput time is nearly 1.25 weeks, and 56% of our cases last more than 9 days. We have too many high throughput time, so we want to remove the long runners to get a fast and touchless purchase order. In this process diagram, we can also include some KPIs which come from process mining. You can see here that there are more than 10,000 processes out of the 20,000 that we have selected for analysis. The average duration of this case is more than 1 week, and we can see that there are too many variants in the process. In total, more than 70 variants. That means our performance is poor, and the quality and expense is probably too high due to the high variety of ways to run the process. Let's compare this to how the process typically runs, and we can use our integrated Eris process mining dashboard right here. We can see that the step process invoice is colored in dark red, which indicates it takes longer than the other steps. Now, we need to find out why this step takes so much time, and we want to include more cases in our discovery, and we'll find more steps between the regular process steps. So these are additional activities that increase the throughput time for processing. We're going to analyze this further to find out some of the root causes. And to do that, let's deep dive into Eris process mining. In Eris process mining, we see that same visualization, and then let's switch over to the conformance view. We compare to the to-be process to our as-is process and executed, and see that the conformance rate is very low. Only 15.9% of the executed processes are 100% compliant with our process design. Our fitness value also is an interesting KPI between 0 and 100. And the current value of 79 is quite good. It means that most of our processes are compliant for the most part. This KPI assesses how well process execution complies with the process design. In the detailed page, we see that over 8,000 non-conformant cases have 10 different conformance issues that are listed in the table below. The conformance issues are causing an increased throughput time by more than 5 days and adding around 5 more activities per case. These values are the difference between conformant cases in blue and non-conformant cases in red. There are also 3 more different conformance issue types colored in green, purple, and orange. The conformance analysis provides a basis for improving a process. The setup for a conformance check is done in the background, using a mapping of the process model and the data. We can also implement business rules, look like this, and we can run them against our data set. These rule checks are also checked in the conformance app with the same KPIs like you have for the conformance. Using these indicators, we can start looking into the details of this by using our root cause miner. In the discovered process flow, we spotted the bottlenecks of the processes, which are the steps that are taking the longest time. Our process time is on average more than 3 days, so we want to find out what's the reason for that long process time. That's why we use the root cause miner on all the cases that take longer than 3 days. After selecting the symptom, which we've just done, the system automatically analyzes the root cause that we are promoting to the symptom. The most frequent root cause is a non-compliant invoice. So now we select this behavior and have a further look at the data. First, we see the average increase. It's about 3.59 days, about half a day longer. And you can see all the additional steps that happen after process invoice. For example, determining root relevant budget holder. And to solve the problem, we could maybe get rid of it or create a software bot to eliminate some of those human tasks. We are going to export those bad processes into the process repository as a basis for improving the process. To start improving, we initiate a change request. This dialog will feed us to the import of the variants into our repository. We place the name in here, and then it gets stored in the process repository. We also need to specify the place in which it should be saved. Now, after it's saved, we can jump to that repository and trigger a change process. To do so, we click on Submit Change Request, and then we start with that. We provide the same information for the process designers. For simplification of the demo, the change request is sent to me. Based on the triggered workflow, our process designers have imported the process as expected. So let's take a look how it looks. By taking a look at the model comparison, we can quickly spot the changes that our designers made. Now we need to roll out this process to our whole organization. This can be done using confirmations. With confirmations, a company can prove that the users are informed about published ARIS content and all its related changes. For example, changes in guidelines or processes, and the employee has confirmed that they will adhere to these. Confirmations can be used, for example, for audits or corporate governance systems or even quality management systems. We can also have redundant confirmations, for instance, quarterly or yearly. We also need to mention all the users that should confirm this new process. And we specify the confirmation details, how it should look like, and what the label of the button should be. All that's needed for the confirmation. Then we publish the confirmation using the scheduler, and the confirmations will kick off. First, the user receives a notification and an email, and they will be brought into the process where they need to confirm that they have read and understood. In the confirmation details, the process owner can see that there are some open and some accepted confirmations. Then they can jump right back to the process mining and see the outcome of what their redesign might look like in the data. So, in process mining, we switch to our processing time dashboard, and we see we continuously capture and measure the purchase to pay process, including the recent process improvements. We see that the processing time over time is much faster, with slightly over 2 days with the improved processes. But the newest measurement indicates that the process slows down again. So let's take a look at this process. And to do that, we can define triggers to inform you whenever compliance issues come up again. Now, this will be done on our data set. Using insight triggers, you can even define a workflow based on certain conditions to send alerts. The workflow could run, for example, in like Microsoft Power Automate or webmethods.io and send emails whenever a defined condition is met. Since we're already in the data collection, we can have a look at the data set and our data ingestion pipeline. You see this nice visualization where the status indicators are all visible. It shows you the whole loading and ingestion procedure with all the steps. You can also see right here that we recently made a change in the transformations. There's a lot more to discover. For example, the parameters that can be used in all projects where that data set is assigned. In combination with the variables in the analysis, you can have the most flexible dashboards for the use of all your process mining users. You can also find on this page the overlay assignments that are done, or what we call the calculated columns. Using those, we enable our users to have a nice visual or code editor to create their own calculations. These are also accessible from the dashboards, which we'll show later. We've already shown the compliance app in our analysis. This is the back end. The first part of the compliance section, you see the mapping of activities from a BPMN model to the events in the process mining event log. On the next page, we see all the rules that you have implemented for the rule check. By combining the rule check and process conformance, we enable our customers to use ARIS process mining to check all kinds of compliance validations with our data. We already showed you the insights to action capability, a generic approach that can be used to trigger all kinds of external and internal applications. And the next part is the source table section. You can see all the available data tables inside this category. If you use connectors, extractors, or through our ingestion API, all the tables are visualized here. You can also decide here if the table is an incremental table or not. The transformations are used to prepare the data from the source tables and feed them into the data model, if you need to make further adaptations to your raw data. By looking at the connection to SAP or other ERP systems, you can see the transformations can be very large. But one nice thing is we provide them using our SAP solutions for process mining. So no need to do this by yourself. The data model is an ERM kind of way to model the data and references you need to build your analysis model. Typically, all the relevant tables and the relations are placed in this model. Finally, our data sets are the connectors and extractors that you can set up right here. But we'll take a look at this later in more detail on the extraction and transformation process. Let's go back to our analysis for now. As the internal processes now have much better KPIs, we can now have a look at a more external view. Let's jump back to ARIS and have a look at our KPIs from a customer journey perspective. So we're going to open up again our make to order process and have a look at our NPS score. We also see that we have a low rank in the sales order handling part of this process. So now let's take a look at the customer journey that's assigned to this part of the process. In the customer journey map, the process steps have been assigned as well as the touch points. By having a look at the assigned process mining dashboard, we see that the overall NPS is okay, but the score is highly related to change in existing orders. If there's a change in the order that's been already placed, the NPS drops to 3.42 on average. So, taking that behavior into account, we've taken a look at all of our indicators to start a new redesign project using the ARIS suite.